So, what do they do with all those used bourbon barrels anyway?
I'm a complete beginner looking to improve my palate and learn more about bourbon. So come along with me.
Well, as we know, to be called bourbon, the whiskey has to be aged in new oak barrels. And according to the state of Kentucky, in 2021, they used over 2.6 million barrels. That's how many were filled in 2021. And currently, there's more than 11.4 million barrels of bourbon aging in Kentucky. And Kentucky only has 4.5 million people, so it's a lot more than the number of people in Kentucky. The typical bourbon barrel is about 53 gallons, and you can get about 200 to 240 bottles per barrel. Uh, but why do they use barrels? Well, the barrel was kind of like the original packaging for bourbon. Kentucky had a lot of trees, a lot of oak, and originally they were putting in the bourbon in earthen jars, or the whiskey in earthen jars, and found that they could really get really good, nice big barrels out of that good American white oak, and ship it down the river for sale, and it'd end up at the local general store, and then people would come and they'd get some for in their own jug, and that barrel just kind of never seemed to go back, and it was, I guess, the first non-returnable packaging. So they just kept doing that, and just realized that the oak barrel, added a lot of flavor to the bourbon, especially with the charred oak, and it just became just the taste that people liked. So why do we still require a new oak barrel? Because these barrels can be reused several times. Is it to retain the bourbon's heritage and sort of maintaining that pre-prohibition legacy? Is it to maintain high quality and consistency? Or is it because of the lobbying of the Coopers Union and the lumber industry to slide that one little word, new, into the text of the 1935 Federal Alcohol Administration Act? I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. So what happens to all those millions of barrels once they get dumped because they can't be reused for bourbon? Well, a lot of it goes to other countries. In fact, a lot of barrels go to Scotland, and they use them for aging scotch. A lot of them are used for to age like Canadian whiskey. Also, tequila and rum is aged in bourbon barrels a lot of times. Here in the States, of course, people aging craft beers in bourbon barrel. You see a lot of bourbon barrel aged beers. A big thing now is these boutique hot sauces that'll be bourbon barrel aged hot sauces. That's not really a new thing. The Tabasco has been aged in bourbon barrels for years. And Michelini, they have about 73,000 barrels of hot sauce right now in bourbon barrels. That's what they use and been using for years. So there's a real big market for the used bourbon barrels. You can get one for about $100, $150, and or you can just buy staves online from Etsy, or just lots of places on the internet. They use them for woodworking, to make planters, to make furniture. They chop them up for smoking chips for the barbecue. You can buy them in bags of that. Do crafts with them. I made this little smoker out of a piece of a stave. Or actually make rings out of bourbon barrel wood. And if you'd like to have a ring made from a real bourbon barrel stave, check out hillcountryrings.com. That's my website. So there's a real big market for it, and those bourbon barrels really don't go to waste. There's a lot of reuses for them. So You know, it's probably about time that we drink some bourbon. Alright, as part of my palate improvement project, I've been drinking Evan Williams Bottled and Bond for the past week, and just going to go ahead and give it another tasting and just see if I'm tasting anything different from first tasted it last week. Give it a little smell, a little sniff, a little nut sweetness, and give it a little taste. You know, someone that I talked to did say that they taste like a toasted marshmallow. I know that may sound a little crazy, but I kind of do sort of taste that. But it's really good. Of course, it's bottled and bond. It's a good value. It's about $15. So let's give it a little try it over ice. It still has a little sharpness, at least to me. But I do kind of taste that. I can see how you get the toasted marshmallow taste from it. Okay. Alright. Alright. Now, I'm going to try a Cask Strength Still Austin. And this is interesting because this is made right here in my state of Texas. In fact, this is just down the road in Austin. I live in the Texas Hill Country. And this is made with Texas grains, but it is aged at least 2 years in new white oak barrels. It is made here in the United States. It is a bourbon, so I'm going to go ahead and try this good Texas bourbon here. And this is a little expensive. I think it was about $65. I got this on sale at a local liquor store that's having a big sale. But been anxious to try it. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. There's a little sweetness. Almost smells like fruit. So let's give it a taste. I almost think almost like an apples taste. You know, I'm still developing my palate, and I'm sure I'm not tasting anything else anybody else is tasting. But still just trying to develop my palate and to get where I can identify the different notes of the bourbons. Almost maybe like a licorice too. And this guy is 59% alcohol, so it's 118 proof, and it is cask strength. So let's go ahead and try him over ice. That's usually how I drink it. It almost tastes like a licorice taste. I know. I'm still working on my palate. So if you'd like to work on your palate and join me, just pick a bourbon, give it a good tasting, just neat in a Glencairn. The smells, the taste. What are you tasting? What are you smelling? Then drink it over the course of a week. Come back, do another tasting, and just see if your palate's improved or if you're tasting anything different. Doesn't have to be the bourbon that I choose, but If you like a good Texas bourbon, I think this would be a good choice. It's a little expensive, but there's a lot of other Barbican bourbons out there, and I'll be drinking a lot more of those because not very often I can afford to throw down $65 on a bottle of bourbon. But if you like to do this, do it with me. I'd love to have you do that. Drink responsibly and enjoy.